I got to tell you, Gus, I'm getting a vibe here that I want to bring up because I'm sure you have some memories of him too. And I'm thinking of Stuart Scott. And because I watch you and you and I are talking, and I'm just wondering if you got what Stuart got a lot of, which is don't do it that way. Did you get a lot of that in your career, Gus Johnson?
Not really.
That's
Nobody
good.
ever told me that I was doing it wrong. That's one thing I loved about the CBS experience. At CBS Sports, we had different kind of broadcasters. I mean, our leader back then was, and still is, Jim Nance.
Mm-hmm.
He had his own style.
Mm-hmm.
We had Vern Lundquist. We had Dick Enberg there during that time. Don Criqui was there during that time. Not one time did anybody ever tell me that I wasn't doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever said, Gus, don't do it that way. As a matter of fact, back then we had bosses like Tony Petitti. I remember one time I was doing a LaDainian Tomlinson San Diego game. And LaDainian, because I would get negative criticism when the internet started, but not from my bosses. And LaDainian, so I said, I'm going to give him a Chris Schenkel. I'm going to give him, from this point on, I'm going to be Chris Schenkel, and I'm going to be understated. So LaDainian Tomlinson goes screaming down the sideline, this unbelievable play. And I do my best Pat Summerall impersonation. LaDainian Tomlinson, down the sideline, touchdown San Diego. I swear, he didn't cross the finish line before the truck lit up with a call from Roast Beef Central is what we call it at CBS, where all the bosses sit there and watch the game. We call that Roast Beef Central. Roast Beef Central call, it's Tony Bettini on the phone. Tony Bettini says to my producer, I think it was Jim Rickoff, who's superstar producer there now, or maybe Vic Frank, same kind of guy. He says, Bettini says, what's wrong with Gus? So the producer says, Tony Petitti's on the line. He wants to know what's wrong with you. I said, tell Tony Petitti that I was just trying to do my best. Chris Schenkel, Pat Summerall. He said, tell Gus to stop you know what and be himself, and I don't need to ever have to make this you know what call again. So in a way, it was me testing them, not them testing me.
Fantastic.
Okay, you want that? Okay, I'll give that to you. How you feel about that? And from that moment on, it was clear. Just be you and just have fun, and that's what you're good at. You're not good at being Chris Schenkel.
How much interaction did you have with Stuart? Did you ever cross paths with him?
Stu and I have known each other. His cousin Tony Vaughns and I went to college together at Howard, so I've known Stu. I knew Stu from the beginning. And the last time I talked to Stu, we were at the Super Bowl in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran into him with his lady in the hotel lobby at about midnight. And it was just us. And I said to him, I said, man, when you go to bed at night, are you afraid? And he said, no, I'm not afraid when I go to bed at night. But I am afraid that I'm going to miss my daughter's wedding.
Oh, my God.
I'm afraid that I'm not going to see my grandchildren.
What a gut punch. What a gut punch. I had his two beautiful daughters here on the show a few months ago, and they're doing great, and he'd be proud of them, and I know he'd be fired up to see your success get even bigger and bigger and bigger every year. He's a special guy, man.
He was just a good man.
The guy you saw on the air is the guy that you see in person.
And that's usually
That's it.
what makes the great ones.
And all he wanted to talk about was family and love and who you love and are you happy and be yourself.
Yeah.
And so
Now, he was so creative that he was a trailblazer.
he was.
He allowed all of us to have poetic license, so to speak. We could be creative. We could bring what our life experience. We could bring our life experience into journalism, into sports. And that was all because of him, because he was such a trailblazer and a trendsetter. Just a good dude, man.
Sitting next to him in the middle of the night, you know, he never really felt that way. He didn't. He got a sense. He understood. Certainly towards the end of his life,
Right.
he knew. But when the two of us were just doing our thing, 3:30
You
in the
guys
morning.
did it for a long time.
7
you know?
years. 7 years.
That's
we
a
did.
long. That's an eternity in what we do,
It
as
is.
you know.
Well, he called me his TV wife. That's what he did, you know. And I miss him every day. And I think of him when there's big sporting events and what he would think. And things like that.
And I think that, and tell me what you think about this, because I like doing this. I like keeping the great broadcasters' voices alive. Like, I'll say cooler than the other side of the pillow in the midst of a broadcast.
I catch it.
Because I want to keep that alive.
You should. We have to. We have to.
Yeah.
Because he's gone 6 years, and I think to myself sometimes there's some people who are going to just not remember him.
And I'll say booyah. I might say booyah this weekend.
I love it.
Do it.
I would love if you did that.
Is that okay? That's not stealing, right?
Only for Michigan touchdowns.
Oh,
Come on, Gus, you walked into that one.
yeah.
Gus Johnson, you are the greatest. Thanks for spending this time. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.